Welcome to Cut to the Chase, where we talk about compelling legal, regulatory, and public interest information and news. Your host is Gregg Goldfarb, an attorney, entrepreneur, investor, and activist.
All right, folks, it's time for our favorite podcast, Cut to the Chase. And why am I doing this podcast here today? First of all, let me introduce my guest, Jayden Doyé. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm excellent. You know, it's a little after April 15th. Everybody knows April 15th for one, reason. Taxes. And here, I've been, I'm not a young guy. I've done this. I paid a lot of taxes over the year. Every year is the same thing. I talked to my CPA in October. Hey, let's do some tax planning. And then, of course, they drop the ball, fumble it, and all this stuff. And then it's April 15th at 9:00, and I'm getting a phone call, and there's been no tax planning. And sorry, but you got to pay the IRS. And so somehow or another, I finally blew my lid. And somebody said, you got to call this guy Jayden. Okay, it's enough already. I'm tired of hearing you, Gregg, complaining about your CPA. So Jayden is a CPA. He is the president of Procedure Accounting and Consulting. He is a speaker. He's also a best-selling author. And he also is putting together a conference called Raise the Bar Live. Jayden basically is locked in on helping law firm owners. I want to get this right, okay? Reach new heights, catch more flights, and pay less to the IRS. Did I get that right? Absolutely,
you got it right.
All right, so let's talk, Jayden. Does one CPA different than another? Do I need to, is tax planning really going to help me out? Let's just start.
Yes. Yeah, so every CPA is different, and everyone's definition of tax planning is different as well. At my firm, our tax planning service means we are talking to our clients at least 4 times a year. So most of our clients we're already talking to monthly. However, for tax planning purposes, we're specifically talking to them 4 times a year, and we're updating their tax plan. So we invest thousands of dollars into a tax planning software that helps streamline those efforts. Where most people are just guessing, looking at the numbers, guessing, putting in a calculator and telling you some voucher, here are your vouchers, go ahead and pay. Where the software that we use integrates with QuickBooks Online. And so the numbers feed over. We're able to get annualized numbers from that. And from there, we can choose different strategies to implement with the client. And when we have those quarterly meetings, we can check in to see, look, if I told you to put $20,000 into a 401k, how much have you contributed thus far? Or if I told you to put $50,000 into a SEP, how much have you put in so far? And things of that nature. And that's really the biggest difference, is really the intricacy of where the numbers are coming from and how often the CPA is talking to the client, and also the strategies that they're implementing. Most people are just implementing the simple, we're going to make sure you're an S corporation and we're going to put money to your 401k. But there are some other strategies that could be implemented. I like to say, find out where you can mix business with pleasure. So figure out where you may be personally spending a lot of money through your personal bank account, and figure if there is a business aspect to that. For instance, let's say you have a very expensive vehicle and you're currently not taking full benefit of the auto deduction. We can look at, does it make sense to categorize this as a business vehicle? What portion of this vehicle is being used for business versus personal? If you're looking at purchasing a new vehicle, what type of vehicle will be most tax advantageous to you? And so many other strategies.
All right. So why law firms? How did you get into we're not, I'm not going to say we're not pleasant people to deal with, but I'm just kind of curious. Why go after a law firm owner?
I get that a lot from lawyers, because their experience working with lawyers is different than my experience working with lawyers. So when I started my business 5 years ago, I knew that I needed to really hone in on one niche market if I wanted to scale rapidly. I did a lot of business coaching, read a lot of business books. That was one of the common themes that I realized. And lawyers were one of a few different markets that I focused on. And I talk about this in my book, Raise the Bar, as well. But one of the things that I did was with each different market, I would do a marketing campaign and see how that would work. And then from there, I would also do interviews. And so I would just have calls with people that own their own law firm and get an insight on what the market is like, what their pain points are, how I can help them. And one of the things that I realized is that there is definitely a deficiency in the market when it comes to law firm accountants. The biggest thing is the IOLTA account. As you know, thousands of lawyers every year lose their license because of IOLTA mismanagement. And many people are keeping up with their IOLTA account in a spreadsheet. And that is not efficient because oftentimes the formulas are incorrect or all of the data may not be in that spreadsheet. And so once I realized that there was a deficiency, I decided that this would be the market that I focused on. I also realized that I'm a CPA, they're a lawyer. We both go through an extraneous process to get to where we are as a licensed professional. And so I resonated with them on that note as well. And I enjoy talking to people that are intelligent. I don't do a lot of like when I go to conferences and things of that nature, I may go to the happy hour, but that's about it. After that, I'm going back to my hotel room. I don't do a lot of the late night, let's party till 6 a.m. That's not really me because I don't really get a thrill off of that, right? And so I asked myself, is this a niche market that you could see yourself focusing on for years to come? And it is, and it has been very successful since then. And me working with lawyers is great because they understand, they come to me as a trusted advisor, and they value the service that I offer. And so a lot of the interactions that lawyers have with other lawyers when it comes to opposing counsel and things of that nature, I don't really deal with that type of interaction. And I also have a rule that I don't work with people that I don't like. And in my previous job experiences, when I worked at a firm, I didn't have a choice. If I didn't like the client, if they were disrespecting me, the boss would take their point of view, and I just didn't have a choice. But now when I have a consultation with the client, they think that it's an interview for them to interview me, but it's really a sense for me to see, do I really want to work with this person? Is this person ethical? Does this person, do the values that we have at the firm resonate with that person's values?
All right. So I guess the follow-up question to how is it that you got involved with lawyers is, do you regret it?
No, I don't. I mean, since going into this market, I have had tremendous success. It's given me the ability to literally travel the world. I'm an international speaker, so I also have been able to do law firm conferences outside of the United States. And because of the deficiency, and because there are not that many people that talk about law firm profitability or best practices with billing or best practices when it comes to tax planning for lawyers from a CPA perspective, it definitely provides the opportunities are honestly endless for me.
All right. So, I would say the first 10 years as an attorney, tax planning never even just, appeared in my brain. And even when I first started to, read, best practices on how to handle finances and stuff like that, I was like, I'm going to make my money and, not piss it away. Like I see a lot of lawyers, especially at the conference that we last went to in Vegas. A lot of high roller lawyers there make a ton of money, and then they really have extravagant ways of pissing it away. But sell me on tax planning. I'm a law firm. I'm making money. I'm making as much money. I'm working as hard as I possibly can. I cannot do any more. How on
Okay.
incarnation is tax planning going to help me out?
Well, there's a couple of different strategies. And I first want to give the disclaimer that although I'm a CPA, I'm not your CPA for those who are listening. So make sure you vet any information that you get today. And if you try it and it doesn't work, okay, that's on you. All right. So I want to put that out there. Okay. First things first, for those who are getting these large settlements, there's something called a structured settlement that you can look at, where if you don't need that full balance, you can get that balance, you can get that those fees over time. That's one thing that a lot of people do that are high income earners. Another thing that people do is hiring family. It's completely legal to hire family members in your firm. So a lot of times I'm dealing with people that are paying for private school for their children, and the private school tuition, I mean, I know people that pay more for their child to go into first grade than I paid for 4 years of college. Okay. But if you are going to invest all this money into your child, you might as well invest some work skills into them. So hire them into the firm, and you can put money into their retirement account. And if you think about it, let's say that the law firm owner is in the 25 or 32% tax bracket. Their child is going to be at a low tax bracket. So you're shifting that income to a lower tax bracket, thus paying less to the government legally. Another thing is, with hiring your family, there are different medical reimbursement plans that you can do as well. So let's just say hypothetically, you have a exorbitant amount of medical bills every year. If you are in a qualified plan and that is a part of the employee benefits, then that is a way to get your medical deductions tax deductible. Well, ordinarily, most people aren't deducting their medical expenses because they don't meet a certain threshold.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to ask you this question. The person that put me in touch with you, Darren Wers, we were discussing the QBI, qualified business deduction.
Uh-huh.
Are
Qualified business income.
are lawyers eligible for that?
Yes, lawyers can take advantage of that. There are some limits. It changes every year, but there are some limits as it pertains to the QBI deduction. So if you're an S corporation, I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but let's just say hypothetically it's about $340,000 a year in net income that flows through to your personal tax return. At around that amount, it starts to phase out. So, but most of my clients are definitely taking advantage of that. And basically what that is that the government gives you a 20% deduction off of from your qualified business income, and the business income that you get from your law firm, that's an S corporation, is technically qualified for that. So a lot of people are taking advantage of that. I do want to also say that with every administration, tax law changes. So even a lot of people are talking about the vehicle deduction, where if you get a vehicle that's over 6,000 pounds, you can fully deduct it in the year of purchase. Where ordinarily, let's say you purchase a vehicle and that's $70,000, you have to do what's called depreciation, meaning over 7 years, you can only expense a portion, that $10,000 of it. But with the Trump tax law that was put into play, you could deduct the full $70,000 in the year of purchase. Well, now that's starting to phase out. So, you know, in a particular year, you can only do up to 80%. In a particular year, you can only do up to 60%. So those are nuances that come with the ever-changing tax law. But being a CPA, we're required to do 80 continuing professional education hours every 2 years.
Nice.
So,
nice. All right, well,
so I don't have a choice but to keep myself updated with that.
All right. So, you know, this depreciation thing to me, just intuitively, I mean, it sounds great. I could take it all at the beginning, the first year that I buy the equipment. But I mean, at the end of the day, what difference does it make whether I get it all now versus spread over 7 years of time?
That's a great question. Okay, so let's just say hypothetically you are in the 25% tax bracket. and it's December, you're trying to figure out what we can do to lower this tax liability. And in this particular year in question, we can take advantage of the 100% depreciation. If you were to purchase a vehicle that's $80,000, you would save $20,000 in taxes, versus if you were to depreciate it, you would only be able to save $2,286 in taxes in that particular year, given this example. So for those who have a high net income, that can definitely play a big part in saving. Now, what I will caution people to do is don't think you can buy a big BMW or a Tesla Model X every year and that will work, because I have seen law firms get audited by having too many vehicles. So the IRS will look and see, okay, you're a solo. Why do you need 3 vehicles again? Yeah, no, we're gonna take out 2, and you're gonna just use this one, and you're gonna be happy with that.
All right, so I want to go back to that qualified business deduction we were talking about. Let's just say that your accountant, your CPA dropped the ball on that, and has dropped the ball for the entire time that you've been with that operation. Is there anything I can do? Can I go back in time and amend my returns? And I mean, 20% of some amount of money could be a nice chunk of change.
Right. I'll say this, most tax programs automatically calculate that. So the likelihood that someone missed that is unlikely, but in the event that someone is using a cheap software, we use one of the most expensive software, so we don't have that problem. But in the event that someone did miss that, yes, you can amend your tax returns. But there are some deadlines with that. I believe it's 3 years from either the date that you filed or the due date for that return where they will actually, accept it. And even with that, there's some exceptions. So yes, the answer is yes, you can amend you can have another CPA review it and amend those tax returns.
Right. And CPAs will do that. They will, hey, I want to hire you to review my last 5 years of returns to see.
Yes. Yes, like for my company, that's one of the defaults. We will review, before we do the current tax return, we have to review the previous tax returns, because there's something called a book to tax entry where most people, we have to, okay, I don't want to go too deep into accounting mumbo jumbo, but long story short, there are some numbers that are on the tax return that we have to make sure flow through properly when we do tax reporting. So let me give you an example. I was working with a lawyer, and I looked at the tax return, and I looked at their financials on QuickBooks, and I'm like, wait a minute, something isn't right. And then on a business tax return, there's a balance sheet where you put your assets and liabilities, just like in QuickBooks you have your assets and liabilities. Well, this person was just plugging numbers so that the tax program wouldn't show any error so that they can push it through. So they completely filed a fraudulent return. And this person also incorrectly categorized in IOLTA transactions. So there is an overage of income for this person. So we have to go back 3 years. We have to start all over. We have to do the accounting from 2020 and the taxes all the way back from then and redo it for the client. Then we have to get them enrolled in what's called an installment agreement, because who has $60,000, $70,000 laying around to pay the IRS, right? So we get them on an installment agreement so that they can make payments to the IRS, and the IRS won't levy their bank account or, try to come after their home or something like that.
Now, I want you to put yourself in my shoes. And every year I get my tax returns, they send them to me. I don't even know what to look. What do I do? What should your consumer, your client do when they get the returns? Just put it in a, Dropbox file and cross your fingers that you never get audited and that it's all good?
Well, for one, you should hopefully don't just sign it, ask that that person review it with you. So ideally you want to make sure that the numbers that are filed, that are showing on your P&L and balance sheet in your accounting software, also reflect the numbers on your business tax return. And then your personal tax return, you want to make sure that the if you have an S corporation, that the K1 income from the K1 matches what flows through to the personal tax return, because sometimes there are issues with that. Then you want to, have an explanation of the numbers on your personal tax return, which doesn't take that long. So that's that. And then you want to make sure that you do have a filing system. I say keep it for 7 years. Some people say you don't really need it that long, but I say keep it for 7 years just in case.
All right. So I want to switch gears a little bit to your conference.
Okay.
It's Raise the Bar Live.
Yes.
Okay, and the book that you referred to is also called Raise the Bar.
Yes.
All right. So now this conference is June 18th to the 21st in Atlanta, your hometown.
Correct.
Right. I just want to throw this out here, just, because us lawyers, we're always like, well, I'm licensed in Florida, so why would I, don't send, we're just always kind of hyper focused on, we can only do it in Florida, whatever. If I'm, let's just say, an attorney out in Denver and I like you, you sound like a good guy. You sound like, you're doing them. Tired of getting, the same old with my CPA or whatever. Can you represent law firms that are not Georgia law firms?
Correct. Yes, we can. We have clients in 21 states right now. And every time we get a client in a new state, we go to research the tax law for that state, as well as the IOLTA rules for that state.
Yeah.
And then we have our creative team create a presentation, and then we do a training with our team so that we're all understanding of the intricacies of that specific state. Regarding the conference in particular, the conference is all about scaling a 7-figure firm without losing your soul. There's so many people that get to the $1 million mark and then they get burnt out and then they don't want it anymore. Well, I want them to know that it's possible to have a 7-figure firm without working 7 days a week. Right. And so this is all about practice management. We're going to be talking about tax planning strategies, utilizing AI, utilizing technology, hiring strategies. We're going to be talking about a lot of marketing, delegation. There's a lot that we're going to be covering over this conference. A lot of the teachings from my book, we're turning into CLE sessions. So whatever state you're in, you can get CLE credits at this conference. We are paying a company to make sure that all of that is good to go. So that's one of the other benefits of coming to this conference. You're around like-minded people that want to grow their firm, but don't want to do everything, right? They don't want to be the ones that's answering the phones, doing the work, doing the deliverable, managing the workflow process and things of that nature.
All right. So give me a couple of names of speakers that are going to be at the conference.
Okay, yeah, so we have about 20 speakers that will be at this conference. One of the speakers is Lanita Baker. She was actually, oh my goodness, now I'm forgetting. She handled a really big case, and it was a big civil rights case, and I'm having a brain fart right now, but it'll come to me. And then we have, and she'll be talking about just like how to navigate the world. Oh, Breonna Taylor. She was Breonna Taylor's attorney.
All right, there you go. Yeah.
Yep. Then we have Andrea Evans, who is she's an IP attorney. She actually used to work for the USPTO, and she's grown her firm tremendously as well. And she'll be talking about, she's going to be talking on a panel called Catching Big Fish, where we're talking about getting those high value clients, and how you can get that through networking. So for the people that want to focus on working with less clients, but more money versus having a volume-based firm, she'll be talking on that panel. We'll have Darren Wars, who is a certified financial planner. He'll be talking with myself about tax planning for strategies. tax planning strategies for lawyers. And our keynote speaker, Brett Tremblay, he owns Get Staffed Up. That's a virtual staffing firm for lawyers. He's our keynote speaker, and he'll be speaking as well. And then we'll also have what's called our Raise the Bar Awards Luncheon. So on the last day, we're doing an awards gala to recognize clients that we've worked with that have raised the bar in their firm. Either they have grew their revenue 6 figures, or they've crossed the 7-figure mark in their firm. And so I'm really looking forward to that as well.
You mentioned early on that you've actually done some of these conferences abroad. Did I get that right?
Yes, correct.
How does that work? People actually, well, tell me where, and all about that.
Yep. So we have went to Mexico, and we went to South Africa, Cape Town, South Africa. And that was tremendous. So the way it works is it's usually a week-long adventure. And there are a couple of free days. There are a couple of days of group activities and excursions. And then we have 2 days of actual full-day seminars. So workshops so that you can work on your business and versus in your business. So, you have to actually have a business that doesn't require you to be there 7 days a week. You have to put certain systems in place, right? And in order to get to the next level, you have to have a plan. And I provide law firm owners with the opportunity to take a step back, mastermind with other like-minded individuals, and be able to create a plan that they can implement in the next quarter for their business.
Nice. All right. And obviously, the event, is it tax deductible?
Absolutely. So this is technically business development.
Yeah.
So anyone that's my client, that would ask, I would tell them yes. Other CPAs may have a different opinion, but yes, this is just like if you went to CleoCon or ABA Tech Show. It's a conference that is tax deductible, and I make sure that when I do my international conferences, to get your travel tax deductible, a certain percentage of it has to be technically business days. And I make sure I structure the trip so that they can have fun on it, but it's still considered a business trip due to the number of business days in the event that they were audited.
All right. So I'm listening to this program. I can't stand my CPA, going to a conference and networking and, here talking about this AI stuff and the newest technology. I know I'm 10 years past all of this and I really need to catch up. And this all sounds great, but, I'd like to kind of maybe talk to Jayden, schedule a time for him to take a look at me and what I'm doing and to see if it's a fit. Can that be done between now and June 18th?
Yes, absolutely. So anyone that's interested, they can go to my website, accounting-atlanta.com. And there is a link for them to book consultation, and we have complimentary consultations for law firm owners. I also do have a free resource on that on my website called Don't Get Disbarred, where I talk about the 7 financial mistakes that law firm owners make that put their license at risk. And so I grew tremendously from putting that book out there because the book is free, but the information in there is very valuable. It's priceless.
All right. So my next question was going to be, what's the best way to reach you? But it sounds like you just answered that.
Go to the website, book a consultation. It's pretty simple. Like most people on their website, they have a contact us form. No, we actually have you can schedule your consultation via Zoom, fill out a short form, and then we have the consultation where I get to know where they are. I talk about how we can serve them and what the investment looks like. And at that point, it's if they want to move forward, great. If they don't, then at least they have the information that they need, they know where their deficiencies are.
Now, some people actually that are watching this is going to be on, I've got a YouTube channel. They might be like, wow, this guy looks kind of familiar or whatever. I'm not sure where I got. This guy's got one of the best IG handles. I never thought I would actually follow a CPA's IG account. Well, your account is the great Jayden.
Yes, the great Jayden. Yep.
What's the handle? Why? I have to have, what's great about, I mean, besides the obvious.
Well, I'll tell you the origin of that handle. So Jayden became a very common name around the time I was in college, right? So sometimes I would contact people and I would say, hey, it's Jayden. They'll say, which Jayden? And then I would get smart and say the great Jayden. And then it just, it just stuck. But I'm one that really manifests, and I'm all about affirmations as well. So I believe you have to speak great things over your life if you want greatness, right? I read the book Napoleon Hill. What's the book? Think and Grow Rich. And in that book, he said, write on a whiteboard what you want. And I remember years ago, I had wrote that I wanted to make over $100,000. Well, I made that in a couple of months versus a year. And now I have $1 million firm. And I became a millionaire at the age of 30. I became debt free before 30. All of these things because I manifested and I worked towards it. I'm not just saying this is what I want, but I'm constantly working towards it. I don't know a CPA that's working as hard as me, as many conferences as I go to, as much business development as I go to, which I'm actually going to cover in my next book. So when I have my next book, you have to have me on again.
Absolutely. And you're going to become a regular contributor. You already are. This is the first installation. But I'm going to just say this. First of all, I was poking around your website and your LinkedIn or whatever. One thing that I saw that was kind of interesting, a study that Clio did shows that I guess the average lawyer is spending 2.5 hours a day on billable work, which is pretty sad. And you're going to have to go to your conference if you're one of these people that's like, yeah, you know what, that's exactly where I'm at, to see
Right.
the scale up and how to stop doing a lot of the nonsense that you're doing that's keeping you from having, the max kind of enjoyment, passion that Jayden obviously espouses. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm going to throw that out there. Don't double check me on that. Did I miss anything about the conference?
No, I think you really hit the nail on the head. That 2.5 hours is so sad how much admin work people are doing. And, they're telling me I can't make the money I want to make. Well, the money is there in a trust. You just need to earn it, right? And so time management is a thing that I had to master in my first year. And delegating appropriately, getting the right help is, and actually one of the workshops that I'll be doing on the first day is all about time management. People really don't recognize how important that is.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to end it on this. Every year when I hear about, I talk to my CPA friends, I got friends that are CPAs or whatever. Or my CPA, it's like, oh, it's tax season. And when I hear that, I cringe, because what I hear is that my CPA is spending a couple weeks a year on me, and that's it. And I really, after 30 years of doing this, I'm completely convinced that that's what's going on. But this man right over here, Jayden Doyé, will not do that for you. He's going to walk you through the year. So you're not at 9 o'clock at April 15th, giving your accountant, who's been your accountant for 30 years, your address and your social. And I couldn't believe I was actually doing that. But okay, I feel a lot better, Jayden. Thank you for coming on the show. Unfortunately, I have actually double booked another conference that I'm going on that weekend, but hopefully we're going to see each other. Maybe at Vegas. They do a lot of marketing. People, maybe you guys are going to talk about that at your conference. But I'm done talking. That will do it for this episode. If you have questions, first of all, schedule a consult with Jayden, okay? But if you, I'm going to wait for the next, I want to hear about his book, whatever. You got any questions? Leave me comments, questions that you want me to ask Jayden the next time. When's your book coming out? Do we know?
Yeah, it'll come out the week of Raise the Bar Live.
Oh, nice. Well, we might have a back-to-back, folks. All right, that'll do it, Jayden. Have a good day. Get back to doing what you do, all right?
All right, thank you. Have a good one.
That's all for this episode of Cut to the Chase. But before you go, will you open up your podcast app and give us a 5-star review? You can also leave a comment about what you liked most or other topics you'd like us to cover. And please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming shows. Thanks, everybody. Be safe out there.